Good morning, everybody. I'm Rhett Nelson. I'm the communications person for Graduation and Team Effort. This morning, we're here to talk about student engagement and transition support through the High School and Beyond plan. This is part of our ongoing year-long series of webinars related to dropout prevention, intervention, and re-engagement. This is the third in a series related to engagement. The first one was focused on engagement through elementary school, primarily through PBIS and compassionate schools. The second one was last month was middle schools and effective research-based practices to engage youth in middle schools that might work in high schools and elementary schools as well. And this one we're focusing more on the high school level, primarily through the High School and Beyond plan. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Lori Shannon. She's our graduation specialist here at OSPI and was a former school counselor, and she will begin.
So good morning. High School and Beyond plan is something that is near and dear to my heart, having spent a great deal of my professional career working with students who become disengaged and show up to a variety of alternative settings that I've worked in, not having a clue how many credits they had earned or what their future held for them. So the High School and Beyond plan can be a great tool to help prevent that from happening. Speaking of tools, we here at OSPI have a wonderful graduation toolkit available, and if you want that link, it's right up there, and you can download the PDF. It is a wonderful resource for the graduation requirements that counselors, advisors can use with their students and with parents as well. So we're here today to really talk about comprehensive guidance and counseling, and then how that can engage not only students but the entire school community in helping students to come out with a meaningful plan. The comprehensive guidance and counseling is really a wonderful concept of how the counseling department, which usually consists of the counselors and their department head and then their support people of the registrar and maybe a secretary, can all work together with a variety of other supports within the school. And so if we look at this wonderful slide that Denise has created, you can see all the different kinds of people who should be connecting with the school counselor to help make sure that the supports are in place for students to achieve whatever their goal is. And so we see that we are working with the school psychologists and the school social worker, if we have them, with AVID and Gear Up and college-bound scholarships, with special education, with DSHS, migrant, all the other supports, the career guidance specialist, if you have one, grad coaches, even the ed advocates that maybe are coming out, and probation officers from juvenile justice. The counseling department can be that wonderful point of contact where we can coalesce and bring together all the resources that a student may need to become engaged and stay engaged. So the graduation requirements are set by our State Board of Education, and you can see that there is a great little video that's about 5 minutes long that can be viewed at that second link there, or excuse me, on the second bullet, the first link. And then these are really helpful. The FAQs are really well done to help understand what are the graduation requirements for each grade level. And you can see that when you're taking a look at that, you can see how having a High School and Beyond plan makes so much sense for a student to navigate their way through these complex requirements. So the 24 credit graduation requirement is new. We've been talking about it for a while. It was called Core 24 for a while, and we've really done away with that term if you're still thinking Core 24. We actually have 17 core courses and a 24 credit career and college ready graduation requirement for the class of 2019 and beyond, and so that would be this year's 8th graders. So we have in that the 17 core requirements that have been increased under the new requirements: 4 English, 3 math, 3 science, 3 social studies, 1 CTE, 2 health and fitness, 2 arts, and 2 world languages if a student is college bound. And if they are not college 4-year university bound, then they get to take 3 of those last credits and make them a personalized pathway requirements. And those are locally determined and need to fit in with the student's specific high school and beyond plan. So you can see already that we really are being very intentional about saying you have to have a plan so that you know what course sequencing you need to take to get where you want to go. And while 15 and 16-year-olds don't always know where they want to go, they need to be thinking about it and making choices that allow them to have options for what that post-high school plan is going to look like. So the personalized pathway requirements are those courses, again, that a student could choose to do in lieu of the world language requirement and one of the fine arts requirements. And they are specifically linked to the high school and beyond plan as meeting the need. And so this is one of the ways for students who might, by the time they're a junior, want to attend a skills center program, and we're feeling like, oh, there's not enough room in my schedule. Well, if your goal is to become an auto mechanic, and you've already maybe taken an introductory auto class in your comprehensive high school as your CTE requirement that you might have done as a sophomore, you can say that if I've made a plan and I've actually articulated to my advisor and to my parent that my plan is to become an auto mechanic, and to achieve that goal, spending 2 years in a preparatory program at my skill center meets my goal, then you can fit that in. So it does have some flexibility. There's also going to be additional flexibility provided through course equivalencies in the CTE world, and that has been an ongoing project at OSPI for the last 10 years, is helping districts do the articulation of Common Core or state requirements in core subject matters to align with CTE standards. So that will be there. The new requirements really just help us to become way more intentional about helping students to make the best use of their educational opportunities while they're in high school. So every student needs a plan, and that should really start in middle school, and there is a lot of evidence that a career and college readiness knowledge and a career interest inventories and a high school 4-year plan, and then knowing what those post-secondary options are, will result in more kids actually meeting the goal of graduation. Career guidance is a part of the comprehensive plan. And in schools that helps make this available. Career Guidance Washington has sort of replaced Navigation 101 for those of you out in the field who worked under Nav 101 and utilized that. This is our state's statewide system now for providing the services that previously Nav 101 had done. This work is really important for a variety of reasons. We know that as a best practice, it actually does increase graduation rates and student engagement in high school. And it also allows us to do some vertical teaming and transitioning. So we have some really good data on how we have better outcomes when the transition from middle school or junior high to high school is a seamless transition. And Career Guidance Washington and having a team approach to this can really help create a culture where the feeder schools coming into the high school are in sync, and that students have a transition plan, and that they understand what's going to be happening when they are making that transition. And you can do this in lots of creative ways. There are schools that utilize teams of high school age students who go down into the middle schools and do presentations. There are schools that take small groups of students and bring them up to the high school and have, while they're still in the 8th grade, and do tours. We have all kinds of summer freshman orientation programs in our state that are all being really effective at helping to make that transition be a smoother transition and keep students engaged. when we look at some of the disproportionality on dropout rates, we know that there are pockets in our state where there are students, particularly Hispanic students, who don't make that transition from 8th to 9th grade, and we want to keep them engaged. And so one of the ways that we can really seamlessly do that is to provide them with structured activities that let them see themselves in that new environment. Having a plan that starts in middle school, that where you are owning your own plan and you are actually transferring that plan with goals for high school, it can only enhance that experience. So how do we teach career guidance in our state? How does Career Guidance Washington work? Well, as I sort of mentioned, it sort of has replaced the Navigation 101. But there are now a series of free lessons. There are 20 at each grade level that can be customized to meet your school's specific needs and put your logo in. Each lesson plan has the same format each time. Each one is got a goal for student learning. It's focused around the outcomes for students following the successful completion of that lesson, the list of materials that you're going to need, the handouts, internet access, so community resources, a step-by-step guide that for the activities that students will complete during the lesson with enrichment and exploration, depending on the amount of time you have available. And then a student worksheet and a family handout for each lesson. All of those things are provided for you for free on the OSPI website and are there through Career Guidance Washington. Each lesson, like I said, follows the same format, and they're just 3 pages in length, so this is not a cumbersome tool to use. If you have whatever form of advisory type of program you have in your school can easily utilize these lessons. So Career Guidance Washington has a lot of data to show that what schools are doing if they're utilizing Career Guidance Washington and the structured approach of using systemic lessons through an advisory program are having really good results. We're seeing increases in student outcomes and college readiness. You can see that when students see the connection between what their goal is as defined in their high school and beyond plan and what they need to do to get there, we see an increase in students requesting to take more advanced math and higher level science classes. And so you can see that rigor increases, graduation rates increase, college readiness increases, college persistence increases. All of those things come out of really wonderful use of the lessons and the advisory system to implement meaning and engagement for students and for parents. Programs that are successfully using this model and are using it with fidelity and actually having student-led parent conferences. The data has gone up to say that 96% of parents say that their student-led conference was worthwhile, which is huge. When we started this was in the low 80s. So the high school and beyond plan is a school-wide process. Everyone plays a role, even though it is the guidance department that may be providing the structure to help people understand the importance of the lessons and to help establish flow in the school for the advisory to get access to the lessons and set up the scope and sequence. But a really well-oiled advisory program is a very, very powerful tool for keeping kids engaged. When you have students who are regularly meeting with an advisory to do these lessons and to see where they're at, then they just inherently are more successful with deciding what they want, and the sense of belonging increases as they become engaged in relationships that they might not have without that structure of the activities in the lessons and the structure of the advisory, and knowing that they're going to have to do a student-led conference and take responsibility and ownership for their plan. And communication is so the key here, and it's not just the communication to the student in sitting in the advisory program, but it's also that communication from the school to the students, from the students back to the school so that they can build a master schedule that reflects the needs of students as they're identifying what their goals are, from students to parents, from parents back to the school in support. And so it's just that opportunity to have really solid communication around that we want every student in the state of Washington to leave high school, career, and college ready. So how do you get access to this? Well, if you've not signed up, you can sign up. And like I said before, these lessons are free. They are available for you. There are 20 per grade level. You can register for trainings. You can get the handbooks. You can get the lessons. You can get updates. And it's all free for both middle school and high school in our state. So for those of you who remember the days of trying to get your Navigation 101 grant in place.
That link's wrong.
Oops.
Just so you know.
Red is telling me that this link is wrong, and he's going to correct us.
The link should not have the -DEV at the beginning after www. I'll correct that for our online version of this presentation.
So I lost my flow for a minute.
Sorry, Lori.
Hopefully you will get a chance after the webinar to explore this with the correct link, and you'll note that those lessons are there. And as I said before, 20 lessons for each grade level. They're all based on Washington state standards, the graduation requirements, and use our Washington state language instead of, I mean, there are other great tools out there that can do this for you, but this is really designed and implemented for Washington state. All the lessons are in Word with even the PowerPoints, so that if you want to customize them with pictures and logos and your own district's graduation requirements, because remember, while we have the state sets the minimum standards for graduation, each district may have local control to create additional graduation requirements. Some districts are still keeping the requirement of having a culminating project, which is no longer a state graduation requirement, but left at the discretion of districts. So you can customize. Starting in 8th grade, each lesson plan has a template to teach the high school and beyond plan concept. So obviously an 8th grader may have absolutely no clue about high school, and let alone the beyond, but to start to think about it and actually set some goals for what that student wants to do in high school is a foreign concept for some kids. They don't see themselves there. They can't imagine what the opportunities might be like. They're not sitting there going, oh, when I get to high school, I can join DECA, I can play tennis, I can go out for swim team, I can take welding. They aren't seeing themselves there. And so the high school and beyond plan starts to let them see right while they're still in middle school. A whole nother world of opportunities is going to open up for them. The high school and beyond plan is actually in legislation right now as a potential mandate as part of what we are going to be doing to ensure that more of our students are reaching that bar of graduation, career, and college ready. House Bill 2214 is still alive in the legislative session, and we all know that we are in a special session and it has carried through. We're anticipating that it will pass. There is strong bipartisan support for the high school and beyond plan as it's written in the House Bill 2214, and we're hopeful that this session is going to actually end with a budget and that we will not have a second special session. So what is in a meaningful high school and beyond plan? Well, it really follows the model of taking a look at career, college, and life. And so we have, in the life, we have some of the social, emotional, affective domain things, and then obviously teaching kids what they need to know about how to access college is very important for those who want that path. And for those who are looking to go directly into a career, there are a set of prescriptive activities that we know have great benefit to kids in terms of interest inventories and skills assessments and career goals. One of the things when I was still working as a counselor that I would talk to students about regularly was that sometimes we have a goal in our head, particularly when we're young, of this is what I want to be. And as we develop, we find that we have absolutely no aptitude for that. So I might have decided that I wanted to be a singer and perform on stage, and you would cringe if you heard me sing because I am a little bit tone deaf. So no aptitude there, but lots of heart and passion. So helping kids to discover those things while they're still in high school so that the and beyond becomes more meaningful is a really wonderful opportunity that every student should have in our state. And we really see that the high school and beyond plan fitting into the multi-tiered system of support as part of the tier 1 from middle school all the way through to the end. The high school and beyond plan really should be a living document that can change as students mature and develop, but it reinforces the habits of making informed planning decisions. So when you're just willy-nilly taking a look at the last minute at, oh, how will my schedule be in high school, with no thought about what is that goal, where is it that I want to go with this, what are the courses that I need to take to that, has resulted in a lot of kids being lost. And so this provides a structure for them that will be, I believe, a really meaningful and have huge payoff. So what does it look like? It can be paper or electronic. It should be portable so that the student can take it out of the middle school up to the high school. And we know that we have tremendous amounts of movement of students across our state. And so whether it's even when it's paper or electronic, it should go with the student if they move. Portfolios are really designed around the ASCA, which is the American School Counselor Association's major domains of academic development, career development, and personal and social development. And it certainly can be used as part of either the senior exit interview or the senior presentation at the end of the senior year, and certainly as the major culmination for the senior students' last student-led parent-teacher conference. The plan itself really does encourage students to take some time to self-evaluate and to reflect on what they're doing and where they're going, and are those things actually matching up. A good portfolio will always include some student work samples, some best works, some academic inventories, and course planning work, some career development, looking at those, again, at those interest inventories, as well as the aptitude assessments that we have available to secondary students, and then looking at the personal social development and growth of students. It's an area where students can record their leadership and their volunteer service and extracurricular activities and awards, and really take ownership and organize themselves in a way that will lead them to being able to produce a quick resume or a job application or a college application, or sell themselves to a military recruiter to be able to go into the service in a desired field. And once again, it really should start in middle school with setting some goals for what do I want to do in high school? Do I even know? I cannot tell you in the number of times that I have talked with freshmen, particularly freshmen who have failed as a school counselor, who don't even know what is it going to take for me to graduate. They're of the mindset that because up until they hit high school, that attendance, behavior, and course completion, while important, didn't actually prevent them from going on to the next grade level. And so high school can be a very rude awakening for some kids who just have never been taught this is what happens here when you get to high school. If you don't pass freshman English, you're not just going to go on to sophomore English, you're going to be retaking freshman English. And so that moment of being able to say, I want to get to, and this is what I need to do to get through it, and these are the kinds of things that high schools expect from me, is very different from what we expect from middle school students. And so that really does need to be explicitly taught. I think we've had a persistent belief that implicitly students will know this, and they don't. And so it's our job and responsibility to teach them. And the High School and Beyond plan is a great platform that allows us to utilize those lessons from Career Guidance Washington to do that. By the time a student is actually in 12th grade, their plan should have, their lessons and their plan should have substantially changed. They should be at that point where they're being more reflective and looking forward to what is going to be in the post-secondary world for them. They should be applying for financial aid and scholarships, meeting with recruiters, learning about apprenticeship and getting in, taking required tests and entrance exams, and then sort of getting ready to do that reflection and summation of their high school experience. And once again, the High School and Beyond plan can be the vehicle that helps them to organize all of their thoughts around that. Best practices school-wide. Career Guidance really aims to engage the entire school community to help students make meaningful plans for life beyond high school. The lessons and supportive materials are designed to be part of an advisory program of Career Guidance, and the student planning portfolios and student-led conferences, and then student-informed scheduling, which is once again where we take that feedback from our students and adjust our master schedule to actually provide enough sections for them to meet their goals. And if that means that we have to increase the offerings of foreign language or increase the rigor in our science schedule to have more chemistry and physics so students can be prepared for what they want to do next, or whether that means offering more computer science, we take the information from them and do that adjustment ourselves to meet their needs and their goals. And then, of course, there is a cycle of inquiry going on where we're constantly doing evaluation of the outcomes of what we're doing. And with the foundations of program management and career guidance and counseling programs, we can have really effective and empowering outcomes for students and for their families and for our communities. So all of that leads to student engagement, and we can celebrate some of that student engagement when we're using a cycle of inquiry and looking at where are our successes happening, and take some time to celebrate the victories and ask yourself, what are some of the victories that are happening now with your students? Why is that happening? What's working in your own career guidance world or in your multi-tiered system of supports that's in getting more students to the goal of graduation with a plan for the next steps in their life. This has been a big push around using evidence-based practices, and we know that doing a program like Career Guidance Washington does improve course-taking patterns. It increases rigor and dual credits, increases graduation rates. Students have higher persistent rates when they go on to college. There's less need for remediation when they're in college. And students develop strong relationships with their school and with their parents through this process. And we have significant data that tells us that this is working and it's what we should be doing, and then we are using that data constantly to take a look at what are the areas that we need to do a little better job with, and using that data as an evaluative tool, not as a punishment. So college readiness grants were given. The College Readiness Initiative was a 6-year grant program. We are currently in the last year of that grant program, and it took the Navigation 101, which is now morphed into Career Guidance Washington, and Avid, and they partnered into the Career Readiness Triangle, increasing capacity of students to be college and career ready, increasing advanced placement and dual credit usage. There were 7 partner districts in this grant process, and they have seen some remarkable outcomes that we are able to attribute to taking this process of a student high school and beyond plan and the initiatives in Career Guidance Washington and really putting them to use with fidelity. So some of the data that you can see over the course of the last few years here is incredible increases in students who are taking advanced math in high school, students taking chemistry in high school, taking physics, and that's once again where we take a look at that student-informed scheduling practice, which is so important that if students are doing the hard work of looking at what is it that I need to do to get where I want to go in a post-secondary world, and they're willing to do the hard work, we need to be taking that information and making sure they have the opportunity to do that. And so you can see that the student-led conferences and parent engagement, huge increases from the 88s in 2010 to 96% in 2014, and those even in staff, you know, we all know that there are some teachers who don't believe that it is their responsibility to do advisory in high school. They think that should be the role of the counselor or the ed advocate or the career specialist or someone other than them, that they are a content specialist. But even within advisors, we can see a pretty significant increase from 2010 to 2014 in what they believe about the value of student-led conferences over time, as they're seeing those outcomes from their students change. So how do we work together with data? Well, we really need to take a look at using data to create better systems, and using that plan, do, check, and then act system of that cycle of inquiry, creating a multi-tiered system of support. The whole high school and beyond plan really is a tier 1 tool that starts in middle school. But if it's being used with fidelity, it really can become a trigger for how you can see students who are becoming at risk and intervene with some tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. When you have that freshman in advisory who failed 2 of their core classes in the first semester, that's the moment to not wait until they're a sophomore, but that's the moment to actually put in place a tier 2 intervention for the next semester, so that we're seeing higher course completion rates. Closing the gap on student achievement and achievement growth percentiles, and educating each other in the key roles of a comprehensive program. Those are all the ways that we can be collaborating to improve student success. There is a ton of data that can be found pretty easily and quickly, both within your district and on the OSPI website. We have school report cards that are now doing grad rates, assessment, dual credits, and demographics. There are K-12 data reports. There are achievement indexes through the State Board of Education, the ERDC, which is our P20 system looking at preschool through grade 20, and also at work outcome is also, these are all places that anyone can go and look at data. And then we have just added also and released some data through OSPI on discipline and disproportionality, and that is also available on the web. So we have lots of resources for caring about students beyond the boundaries of the classroom. Is the first step of sparking engagement. And I think that's really the whole point of the high school and beyond plan, is that we're going to say to students, we value you, we value what you do in our classrooms, but we really want to value you beyond that, to that next step in your life, whatever is going to be giving meaning to you for that next step. So this graphic was mailed to every high school, and it explains a little bit how Smarter Balanced plays into this.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can we go back?
We can go back.
You mentioned that it's a Tier 1 support, and it can trigger Tier 2 and 3 supports.
Yes.
Do you want to elaborate on what sort of Tier 2, Tier 3 supports you were thinking of, or?
Sure. So some Tier 2 supports might be things like if there's a math after-school tutoring for the student who's maybe struggling with algebra, or if there's a student who's maybe had excessive absences, looking at how if there's a mentor program in your school, having some sort of a check and connect process might help that student to want to come to school and see value in attending. So looking at whatever making the connection between the supports that already exist in your school and having the awareness of what that student might be needing to help them to have a better outcome. And when we're looking at that top tier point, we might be looking at, if a student is if you suspect that a student is getting stoned at lunch and that's why they're not showing up to 4th, 5th, and 6th period on a consistent basis, you might actually be making a referral for a drug and alcohol assessment, and that would be a Tier 3 type support. And we have lots of supports in our schools. We don't always have a systemic way of looking at who gets brought up to the radar level to actually get those Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, because we all have them. And so,
and if you're interested in learning more about the multi-tiered system supports, we have a lot more information on previous webinars. We focused on specifically on multi-tiered systems of support for 3 months, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. If you're interested, please go back and review some of that material, or ask us directly. Basically, you're trying to root cause why that student is triggering that, needing a Tier 2 or Tier 3 support, and targeting their actual needs and responding to that.
And the indicators that we're looking for are typically attendance, behavior, and course completion. And so, if you're seeing students who have excessive absences, who are getting lots of referrals for behavior incidences, or who are failing courses, then there's something going on that needs to be addressed. And that high school and beyond plan, and taking the time to look at it with students through that advisory process, is a great way to spark conversations about what might be affecting that, and what might be a resource that exists in your school to help that student to move forward. So, Smarter Balanced, which everybody I know out there in the field is struggling with this month, is implementing Smarter Balanced. But there is a really direct link between Smarter Balanced and the high school and beyond plan. And it's sort of like the link that we just talked about how the high school and beyond plan can be one way that we can identify students to look at that multi-tiered system of support, and whether or not they need a Tier 2 or a Tier 3 intervention. If we're using the high school and beyond plan, starting in the 8th grade, as you move horizontally across this very busy slide, you'll see that it's the in-between step. Is the high school and beyond plan, because we're checking in all the time to see what is it that you are setting your goals for. Are you meeting them? And so if we're failing algebra in the 8th grade, well, then we're going to be needing to retake it in the 9th grade. And so, and if we're failing it at the end of first semester, we can go into that Tier 2 support system, but we're going to continue to move on so that by the time we get to the 11th grade, we are ready to take the assessment and be at career and college ready. Or if we're not, that we're going to have, once again, that high school and beyond plan check-in that's going to help us to formulate what is my course sequencing going to look like in my senior year to help remediate that gap. And so I think that, once again, the high school and beyond plan is serving as this wonderful Tier 1 available to every student, expectation for every student system across the board that will help us to get more of our students to career and college ready with a clear goal for what they're going to do after graduation, whether that's apprenticeship, whether that's work, whether that's military, whether that's a 2-year technical college or program, or whether that's a traditional college or university. There should never be surprises in the 11th and 12th grade if you are using a high school and beyond plan that starts in the 8th grade. There should be no letter that's getting sent home to a parent in the 2nd semester of the senior year saying, suddenly we've discovered that your son or daughter is not going to graduate. If this is used with fidelity, that conversation's been happening since that student first started to go off track. So with Smarter Balance, there's a lot of resources that are available to help you understand that. I do think it's important to note that in this legislative session, the decision package that the Office of the Superintendent put forward, and that's one of Randy's initiatives, is to disengage passing the Smarter Balance assessment at the proficiency level of the cut score of 3 from a graduation requirement and have it be still used with fidelity because we are federally mandated to do that, but also to then help really guide and inform what should the senior year course sequencing look like for the student who's maybe a 2 on the Smarter Balanced, but that it should not stop them from actually graduating and potentially moving on. That is still alive, once again, in our special session, and we have a lot of resources about the Common Core. There is the potential for this assessment to help students really make good decisions, and for higher ed and for other institutions to use this information to help students move forward with their beyond plan. So
I have a question from the audience.
Yes.
Amy Hammonds would like to know what recommendations do you have for students who are running START and have very limited contact with their high school when they're doing college career exploration in high school, particularly when they start to struggle at the college?
So if you have an advisory program in place in your high school, it should be encompassing even the Running START students. Lots of schools that I have worked with or worked for have made the Running START population sort of be the responsibility of the counselors, and so they are able to accommodate meeting with them at a not regularly scheduled time. And I think that that's a very effective way to meet those needs. I also think that there is systems of support in the community college for the student who's academically failing. Most of our community colleges now have navigators to help guide students through that process. And so I think that while it takes extra work on everyone's part, tag teaming with the high school guidance counselor, the student parent, and the college navigator can really work if you're willing to put in the time to do that and to create a plan of success for that student and to help them to reevaluate, because part of the beauty of the high school and beyond plan is really to take that time to monitor and adjust what are my goals and aspirations based on what else is happening in my life. Sometimes students have the academic skills to get into Running Start, because they can't without passing the placement test, but they don't have the life skills yet to manage the competing interests in their world of juggling work, home, family, and so pooling those resources together to help a student identify what's getting in the way of their success as they're struggling, and then finding appropriate supports. It would be looking once again at what are those tier 2 or tier 3 things that need to happen. Just because a student is academically capable of being in the college environment doesn't mean that they're not going to experience trauma or have stressors that make them need additional supports. And so that's a suggestion that I would have, is looking at how those guys can all work together.
Great, thank you.
So just a little bit more about how this all connects from the big picture of the American School Counselors Association, where the K-12 college and career readiness standards for every student really mirrors the ABCs of dropout prevention in the outcomes. Uses a little bit different terminology, but if we're looking at attendance and then behaviors and then academics, and if we define academics as course completion, then we are really talking about the same thing as these behaviors, and this mindset really allows us to focus on how we can get students to meet the standards with skills, attitudes, and knowledge to have attendance, behavior, and course completion that leads to greater graduation rates and bigger success in life. So the Washington State School Counselors Association has adopted their version of the ASCA national standards, and you can find that at the Professional Educator Standards Board. And you can use this to help your team integrate new graduation requirements. The standards are for all students, and while they are led by Guidance and Counseling Department, they are really the responsibility of everyone, and working collaboratively together to help students achieve. Getting close to winding down here, and so want to invite everyone out there who might be interested in learning more about this to come to the 2015 Summer Institute for School Counselors and related folks. Will be held in Olympia again on June 23rd and 24th at the Red Lion. You can register online at www.wa-schoolcounselor.org, and this conference is put on by the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction in collaboration with the Washington School Counselors Association. We'll have over 300 counselors attending and lots of technical assistance on the topics that are listed on the left there. We're really pleased at how well this conference has been received in the last couple of years. I believe this is our 3rd or 4th annual Summer Institute. You can also find lots more dropout resources at Graduation A Team Effort, www.k12.wa.us/gate. Dropout statistics are public information, and we gather statistics on both the 4-year and 5-year cohort rates. And then we have some good news, and that is that graduation rates are going up and dropout rates are going down. Not quite at the rate that the governor would like. Governor Inslee set through Results Washington a goal of increasing 2% a year, and I believe that in the past year we hit 1.8%, so a little shy of the goal, but we are making progress on that in our state. You can find a lot more information about prevention, intervention, and re-engagement, the multi-tiered systems of support, as well as some data coaching and some programs that have proven fidelity with helping to meet those goals on the GATE website. Just a little snapshot there for you. And then if you are not already receiving the counselor newsletter that Denise puts out, you can sign up on the listserv for secondary ed updates at the OSPI website there and get that. You can also sign up if you'd like some more information about the graduation and team effort. There is some opportunities to sign up on our website for information through a listserv that's being developed, both for
specifically for the webinar series, as well as broader GATE efforts that we have, and re-engagement, open doors opportunities.
Yep. So what's next? The graduation requirements for the class of 2019 really are going to have to be addressed, and so you need to look at the structures that are in place at your school and district to disseminate that information and to have supports in place for the increase to the 24 college and career ready diploma. Good question to ask. Are students using their high school and beyond plan? We really do believe that House Bill 2214 will pass and that will become mandatory, but even if it doesn't, it would be a best practice that will help you to get your students to the finish line with the new requirements. What are the vertical teaming that is happening between middle school, both instruction-wise, social-emotionally, counselors, transition from middle school environment to the high school environment? How can you assess what's going on and whether or not that's meeting the needs of your students? Getting ready for more of Smarter Balanced and the dissemination of multi-tiered systems of support. Are you using tools in your student information system? Do you have a dropout early warning intervention system in your school, and are you using that? So these are all things that you can be looking at, and once again, throughout that entire look would be the overarching triangle of what do you have in place that meets that definition of the multi-tiered system of support. What are you doing for all students? What are you doing for some students that need a little bit more? And then what do you have in place for the students who are at most risk for not graduating either in their 4th or 5th year cohort? And so thank you for coming to our webinar today. We'll open it up for questions. And Rhett, do we have any other questions?
We have one more question. Any current plans that you know of to create basic high school and beyond plan templates that schools could use and adjust for individual programs?
And
you might not know that.
I might not know that, but I believe, and I could be wrong, that if you access the Career Guidance Washington lessons, there are templates that start that process for students. I'm pretty sure they're there, but I have not had the chance to take a look at that since it's become available.
All right. And I wanted to bring up that we have another conference next month, June 17th, I believe. We are going to be focusing on the Plan, Do, Check, Act, the evaluation. How are you evaluating? How are you implementing? How are you sustaining your efforts to increase graduation rates? I really got a lot out of this conference. Some parallels that I can draw to our other ones are, of course, the multi-tiered systems of support. You know, this is a great Tier 1 support. All students are involved. It meets the needs of engaging the students, you know, providing relevant learning to them, providing that empowering them that they are in charge of their education and responsible for which direction their education goes in, as well as, you know, engaging the parents, you know, who are essential in a lot of students' lives for their success. The transition support is essential as well. You know, a lot of research has been done directly with students, asking why, what resulted in them dropping out. And a lot of them focused on the transition points and disengaging, when they, losing some of that touchy-feeliness when they go into middle school, and then it's just a downward spiral. Each transition they have is just an easier time for them to further disengage. And so having this support earlier that's going to carry them through from middle school to high school is going to be essential in re-engaging those students that might be dropping off, as well as maintaining the engagement of the other students. And then, of course, just having them thinking about that third transition, the post-secondary, where they plan on going, how are they going to get there, what are the steps that they need. We have one more question out there. Is OSPI looking for an individual student learning plan, electronic resource tied to Skyward?
Well, Skyward is really one of only 8 student information systems that are actually used in our state, but there are some electronic tools out there. I don't actually know if Skyward offers one, because like I said, they're just one of 8 vendors that provide student information systems to districts in our state. I believe that we may be taking a look at some point of providing an electronic tool through Career Guidance Washington. That was still being talked about when it was NAV 101. I don't know what the fiscal note for that kind of a tool would be, but I know it's a conversation that's been had and probably will continue to be having as we look forward to resolution to McCleary and getting some more fiscal resources into education.
Great. If anybody has any further questions, feel free to type them in. Otherwise, thank you all for attending. Hope you are able to join us next month. And of course, access our website, k12.wa.us/gate. There should be a link there to our webinar series. Thanks, everybody.